Yes, sir. We're officially back at it. This is Boog Nice coming at you with the Medicom Mafex Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice movie Wonder Woman figure review. Let's do it. Taking a closer look at the exterior of the box, you can see the Batman vs. Superman logo at the top, a picture of the action figure in the center, and at the bottom it actually says Wonder Woman action figure and Mafex number 24. And on the opposite side, another look at the figure, the upper torso and the face, and it says Mafex Wonder Woman action figure, another shot of the Batman vs. Superman logo. And there's the front, the Medicom toy logo there, and the DC Comics logo there. Another picture of the action figure. Alright, let's bust this bad boy open and see what's what. So I have Wonder Woman out of the package, and my initial reaction is ugh. That was literally my initial reaction when I first took a look at the face. Definitely not anywhere close to the original product images we saw of the face. I'm not a huge fan of the overall sculpt of this figure. The articulation's not too bad. You do get quite a few accessories, so we'll go over the accessories and everything first, but I'm just not really that happy with this figure. Totally underwhelmed by this figure. This is the fourth figure from the Batman vs. Superman movie that Medicom Mafex has released. We've already gotten Batman, Superman, and an armored Batman, and I was looking forward to this one and hoping that they would give us a nice, sexy, plastic rendition of Gal Gadot from the movie, but I am not too happy. So let's get into the accessories. So straight out of the package, she comes with two fisted hands, and then she's got a set of fully open hands, and you should be careful as you're trying to swap the hands off. The peg protrudes pretty far from the wrist. It's a pretty long peg, and if you're trying to swap on the hands without actually holding it at the base, then it could be flopping around a bit, and you may be missing your mark. So you don't want that to break, so you need to hold it down as you're swapping out the hands. And just so you can see, those are pretty long. And then you get a set of hands that are almost completely closed and a fist, but not really. I noticed that the hands are pretty soft, so you can kind of like pry it open a little bit if you want to put something in her hand. If you want to have her hold the lasso or the sword with this particular hand, I suppose you can. I'm not going to try with this one right now. I'm a little annoyed by the pegs and trying to swap out the hands. It's not that easy. The fit is very tight, which is good, but again, because the peg is so long, it's kind of slipping around, and I'm afraid that this might be a problem, and these pegs might break if you're not very careful. And then you get another set of hands that are almost closed into a fist, but they are a bit more open than the last set that I showed, and I would assume that these are the ones that you can use for holding a lasso or holding a sword. So let me show that real quick. I'm really not happy with the way the sword came out. It's very flimsy. There's really no detail on it. This is like dollar store quality on this sword. It really makes no sense how flimsy and how whack this sword is. It's really just not good. At least I can say it's pretty straight, I guess. But I mean, you do anything, this thing is gonna bend under the pressure, and it's gonna be out of shape, you know, in an instant. So, not really great. The handle, like I said, it just doesn't look good. It just really doesn't look good. Doesn't feel good. There's no weight to it. There's nothing I can say good about this sword except that it came out straight out of the package, I suppose. And really no problem getting the sword into this hand, but it's not the most firm grip. So maybe I will try it with the previous hand. I guess if you put her hand closer to the butt of the sword, then she can hold it a little tighter, but it's not the greatest. You can see that's a little loose. And you can definitely get her with two hands on the sword, but again, these are the hands that are a little loose. And then she also comes with a shield, and while the quality and I guess the durability of this is better than that of the sword, I still feel like it's a little cheap. It's a little flimsy in my opinion. It's not the greatest detail. You can see this sort of crest or emblem or whatever this is here. It looks like a eagle. I don't know what that is, honestly. Let me know if you know in the comments, and you can see the straps on the inside, and those look pretty good, and these little rivets around the side look pretty decent, but again, I'm still pretty underwhelmed by the sword and even the weight of it. You know, there's not really much weight to it. It's not really much to it, period. I suppose this will be the best method for getting the shield on and getting to actually hold the shield in her hand, is actually applying the hand to the handle first and then sliding it through and popping the hand on. So you can see that looks pretty good. It looks pretty authentic. I mean, I guess you could kind of take her hand off of the strap and push the shield down farther on her arm, but I think this looks pretty decent as is, and I like the fact that she's actually holding the strap. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then she also comes with a lasso that is coiled up, so you can actually attach this to her belt here, I guess, if you want to call it a belt, and that kind of hangs freely and swings freely, and that looks pretty decent, I suppose. And she can hold that casually, and I like that. One thing that I really do like, though, is how the hands are pliable, and you could kind of mess with them and get it to hold different things without them kind of losing their shape altogether. So you can kind of mess with those, and that's cool, and I do like her being able to just kind of hold on to the lasso like this. And then she also gets a version of the lasso that looks like this, which I think is pretty cool. I like the fact that you could kind of get her to look like she's you know, fixing to whip somebody's ass, or wrap them up with the lasso, or she's just taking it off the belt or what have you. I do like the look of this, even though again I don't think that it's the best and greatest detail on the lasso, but I do like that this was added in. This was a nice bonus. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Taking a look at the articulation, which I do think is pretty decent, but again, like I mentioned towards the beginning, I don't think that this sculpt is the greatest. I don't really like the way the midsection and the upper torso look. She looks kinda, I don't know, like she's got like a belly or something. I really don't like the way the body looks. It doesn't look as slender and as sexy as the actual actress, in my opinion. I just really don't like the way the midsection looks. But anyway, going over the articulation, the head is on a ball joint. It will kind of move around and pivot and what have you, but because of the hair, you're not going to get really any articulation out of this head. It's not going to move down too much. I mean, I guess you could kind of move the hair out of the way and get the head to look down a little bit, but it looks a little weird. But you're pretty much just going to get left and right, not too much up and down at all. Now the shoulders are on a ball joint, and they get a very nice range of motion, but I don't like the way this gap is here at the shoulder. It looks kind of awkward, and you know, unless you keep putting it up into the socket, it looks kind of weird if you're trying to put it in a vanilla pose. But again, it will go up pretty far. It will do a full 360, and it will still rotate on that joint as well. So no upper bicep swivel, but you do get rotation at the shoulder that allows for a decent range of motion. You get just a little bit more than 90 degrees on the elbow. I don't know if that's really double jointed. I suppose you could categorize it as double jointed. You get a hinge on the wrist and you get a swivel, and that works with no problem. But again, like I said, not a fan of how long that peg is, and that could present a problem. Same thing on both sides as far as the arms go. I feel like, I don't know, maybe this left arm is bending just a little bit more than the right. Maybe I just got to break it in a little bit. The upper torso can rotate right below her breast, but it also gets a nice range of motion at the lower abdomen. This is on a ball joint. I actually had popped this off when I first got it, just looking at all of the articulation. But this is a separate piece. You could kind of see the ball joint down there. You do get a ball joint at the hips here as well. You can see she can almost do a full split, but it'll rotate on that joint, and the legs will come up pretty far, so you can kind of get some high kicks and what have you. That's pretty decent. You do get a double jointed knee. Not really a big fan of the way this looks here. They did try to hide the joint a little bit with the knee pad, but it still looks kind of ugly in my opinion. No rotation at the upper boot or anything. You do get a hinge on the foot, and you do get a nice pivot going both ways. Although these are like platform heels, she does actually stand up pretty well, and you don't really have too much of a hard time trying to stand her up, so that's good. And just taking a closer look at some of the details, like I said, my major issue with this figure off the bat was the face. It definitely does not look that great. I don't know what it is, but maybe the brow section is a little too big. It just doesn't look like the actress. It just does not look sexy. It doesn't look great to me at all. They did do a pretty good job with some of the shading and the hair. I think the hair looks pretty good. I like these coils and what have you, and it looks like it's thick and flowing, so that's pretty good, I suppose. But the face just looks flat. It just falls flat. It just does not look good. I'm not really a big fan of the overall skin tone of the figure either. I think they could have given her just a bit more of a tanned look. She had a great tan and the flick, and this looks kind of pasty, kind of pale, a little too white. I'm not really a big fan of the colors on the costume either. I think they could have made this a little more vibrant here, this red. And I don't think it was even that vibrant in the actual movie. I mean, I guess it was. It was definitely better than this. But all of this, I think it falls kind of flat. I think these colors are kind of flat. Take a look at her backside. That looks pretty decent. It's not like she had a fatty or anything. She's a pretty slender chick. But, I think the colors on the costume just fall kind of flat. This piece here that you can attach the lasso to is a separate part. So if you actually want to take this off, you can. It's a quick size comparison with her two co-stars here. From the movie, you got the Superman and Batman figures from the same line, obviously. And I think they did pretty good with the scaling here, I suppose. She does look a little shorter than these guys, but I don't know. These she's supposed to be in Amazon. They're supposed to be pretty big chicks, I suppose. But I'm assuming that as far as the actual actors go, then the scale is pretty accurate. Well, Mafex is 2 out of 4 in my opinion with their BVS figures. The Batman that I showed a moment ago and the Armored Batman were both pretty good figures. Superman fell flat. I really didn't like that figure too much at all, and this one is annoying the hell out of me as well. This fell flat for me as well. Like I said, I was really looking forward to this figure. I actually want to get her in like a nice running pose right now, and because the head and neck articulation is so poor, I just opted for something vanilla. You probably could trick somebody into thinking it's a nice figure by looking at it right here and a setup. It looks pretty decent, but overall it's just not the greatest figure. At about just under $50 and maybe a little over $60 with shipping if you get it directly from Japan. I don't think it's really worth it. And if you missed out on getting it from Japan and you have to order it or purchase it domestically and you end up paying anywhere in upwards of $70, then that's definitely not worth it. Is it probably one of the best renditions of the character out? Yeah, probably over what DC Multiverse put out or any of these other companies put out, sure, but not by a huge margin. It still falls very, very flat. Not the greatest figure. So that's that. And until next time, peace.